And we are live. Great. Hey, super happy to be here today. I have Rik Krieger today on the show, and he's a co-founder of HOPR. And super excited to have you here and dive into your story, dive into your entrepreneurial journey, talk about HOPR a little bit, and just better understand, like, yeah, how you've ended up where you are today, and what makes you who you are. So, welcome to the show.
Daniel, thank you very much for having me. That's really kind of you.
My pleasure. I would love to get started. Maybe you can share a couple of things about yourself, and then we dive right into the questions that I have, and I'm very curious about.
Sure. So, my name is Rik Krieger. I'm co-founder of HOPR. And yeah, you've been asking where I started. So, when I was 1 year old, no. Well, I think even already at school times, I've kind of always been fascinated by inventing new business models and creating sustainable financial value, especially where there was none before. So that's why when I started my career after studying in Switzerland in the airline industry, that I had to develop an entirely new business model for selling, coffee and sandwiches on board of aircrafts to passengers. And this is today a big cash cow for airlines worldwide. But when I was starting it, that was entirely new for the industry. And then EasyJet and Ryanair and Swiss and Iberia started to discover this field, but they had no clue how to make money out of it. And yeah, well, now you're probably asking how I ended up with the blockchain. So when I first met Sebastian, we actually co-founded SONECT, a startup around payments and financial inclusions, which is today one of Europe's top 50 fintech. And we needed to invent a business model in a very traditional environment, banking. But the real excitement kicked in when I was exposed to the Ethereum ecosystem and when I learned how to revolutionize traditional business approaches to create financially very profitable models while building also a more private and secure environment for everybody. And this is where I am today here, again with Sebastian, and doing my second startup with him.
Very cool. Yeah, you shared that with me when we met, and I'm still, it's really interesting journey, and we're going to dive much more into that. But first, a couple of personal questions. I'd like to start always right at the core, and at the core of you, basically. So, if you had to sum up your essence that makes you up of who you are in just one word, what would that word be and why?
Unique. Because everybody on planet Earth is unique. So with all your strengths and all your weaknesses, with your doubts and convictions, when you're proud and when you have your sad moments, we should never forget that we have been given with a very special and fantastic and very unique skill set, which, makes us usually navigate good or better through our lives, no matter if it's private or business lives, like in general. And maybe if we don't have a skill set yet, then we'll able to adopt it and learn it. And in this way, we hopefully also understand that being unique amongst other equally, truly unique human beings, we are very special and very unique, just like everybody else in this world. Which makes us no better, but it also makes us no worse than anybody else.
I just jump in on that. I love the way you went into it, because to me it has both flavors, which sometimes you can look at them as kind of like opposite or even paradoxes, but it's kind of like unique and the same. It's kind of like on the one side, because we are unique, we are basically the same. We're all the same unique. And I love kind of like, that's the flavor that I got from this. Really cool. Thanks for sharing that. I want to talk a little bit about success. Now, there's lots of different ways people look at success and how they define it. And I'd love to hear your definition or your personal definition of success? What is that?
We stick with one-word answers, right? I thought about that a lot in the past and various occasions, especially in my first startup when I met Tabea, and it came out of a very standard one-on-one in the morning. And personally, I think my current definition of success is happiness.
Tell me more about that. What do you mean? So first of all, like what is happiness to you? And why is the answer so straightforward? Because it feels like, it's just like, there it is, right? One word. So like, what is happiness to you, and why does it feel like so concrete, just like happiness? Like, I'm curious about those two aspects.
Coming back to what we had in this one-on-one, I always had my same three questions. I always started my one-on-one the same. The people would know what I ask, and they the answers would usually be honest and open. That's the reason why we got along very well. And then she looked at me and she smiled at me because I asked one different question that morning, just because of feeling like let's iterate a little bit. And I asked her, very bluntly, so Tabea, tell me really, how are you doing? She looked at me and was like, it's funny you're asking, because I asked myself the same question over the weekend, and I determined that I'm happy. And you know why? Because I love to get up every morning, no matter if it's on the weekend or when I'm going to work. And I was like, okay, that mirrors a little bit myself. I loved my last startup. I was very passionate about it. And I also had the same. So I'm not the morning person. But if you recognize that you get up every morning a little bit earlier and earlier and earlier. If I would have told my 10 years younger or 15 years younger myself that I would get up at 6:30 in the morning, I think I would have laughed out loud and completely declared me stupid. But I recognized exactly the same. So I loved getting up in the morning, although it was a short night and was lots of work and very stressful the night before. But I loved to get up. I was looking forward to go to the job, to meet my team colleagues, and to work on challenges, which, in a startup, as you know, it's not every day, woo, everything is amazing, everything is easy, and everything is fine. And, stuff is coming in and clients are coming in. No, it's usually not when you're able to say it's easy work. But when you do that, when you recognize that although it's tough, and I'm not only talking about customers are coming in slowly and the IT has a little delay in the timeline, we're talking about real tough things, personal decisions, not only interesting business decisions, but decisions which affect human beings. This is stressful. But if you're at the same time happy, you're not happy about taking bad or mean decisions, but happy about the challenge, happy about the people you spend the time with, happy about that you get the chance to work in such an environment, then this for me is happiness, because you do it, although it's stressful, but you do it with passion. And if you're able to, say, fuck, that was a day, but hey, at the end of the day, I liked it and I don't want to go anywhere else, look for any other job. Maybe it would be nicer to have an easier job, or we're growing to a stage when, things get a little bit more easier. But I think this is then for me, this defines happiness in this moment.
I love that. It's funny. It just reminds me of the movie Everest. I don't know if you've seen the movie Everest, but they're basically sitting in the base camp, right? The day or the night before they want to climb Mount Everest. And one guy looks at the other and goes, they're quite afraid because it's stormy outside and stuff. And one looks to the other and he says, why would you ever climb Mount Everest? And he looks him in the eye and he says, because it is there. And to me, this is like the perfect way to describe, I think, what you just mentioned, because for me, it's like, it's exactly the same, and I think it's not about that. It's not about things being easy, because honestly, I think that would be pretty boring, or it would get boring pretty quickly. And the other thing is like, it's not about, as you said, like being happy because of the decisions or even because of the outcomes, but just simply having that ingrained happiness of doing, just like being happy because you get to do whatever you do today, yes, and then tomorrow and then the next day. Not because you have to do it, because maybe, yeah, certain things you probably just have to do. But at the end of the day, it's funny, right? Every single thing, even the things we have to do, we don't have to do. Like, we can just simply decide not to do it. As long as we live with the consequences and we are aware of that, there's nothing we have to do except maybe breathe and eat, have those basic things, right? Everything else is a choice. And it's not an easy choice, but it's a choice. Yeah. And it's funny, like when you mentioned it, sometimes, I live in that bubbles in such a long time of just being happy about what I'm doing, that sometimes I forget that there's people out there who don't live like that, right? Yeah. And you bringing that up, just like, for me, it was a reality check as well.
Well, you're absolutely right. This is the essence. For me today, asking me today, I'm healthy. So, for example, definition of success, if somebody is sick or has a health issue, is totally different, and it changes. But asking me today, it's working with the right people on the company and project we're doing today, and enjoying it, because, as you say by yourself, especially in Switzerland, we are living in Disney World bubble. And then you on top are able to work on a project you love and team members you love and you like to spend time with. It's not too bad. Yes. It's not easy. That's not the point. But no. Not always. You always hope that it's getting easier in the future, right? But as long as you like it, as long as you're able to start and end your day with a smile, and you're able to make your teammates smile and, be happy. And, sometimes when something not so cool is happening, that you're like, yeah, tomorrow is a better day, and I'm going to have a call over here, and we're going to do something over there, and we wait a little while over there, and this can be good. Then it's like, okay, good, cool.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. You also talked about decisions, right? I want to just quickly zoom in on that before I want to go a little wider, but what's one of the most difficult decisions that you ever had to make so far?
The human brain is amazing in healing wounds and forgetting negative emotions very quickly. I think whenever you ask that a person various times in life, you'll get totally different answers. It's at the end of the day, I think it goes back to human beings. It's at the end of the day, I think the tough decisions in business life is letting people go. When you hope that this person matches a need, or is capable of doing something, and then the outcome is different. And this is not, this is partially I took the wrong decision. I decided for somebody, and then the outcome was positive. It's not only that the candidate is not good enough. It can be many things. It can be the environment. It can be the pressure. It can be, no matter how carefully you select, it can be many things. But these are the toughest decision, I still would say.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. Yeah, it's interesting also, like what you mentioned in the beginning. It's funny, like, because usually when I ask that question, people go wild with thinking and trying to remember, but it's sometimes really difficult, right? To actually remember those specific moments, because the brain is, pretty good. I guess it depends. I guess it depends on where you're coming from. So the brain is either really good at healing positive things or healing negative things, right? I guess it depends on your default frequency that you're on. But Now, I want to talk a little bit more about specific phases of your journey so far with SONECT, but also with HOPR. There's this place usually in the startup world, but not just in the startup world, with everything new, where a product or a service meets or doesn't the market, right? There's the market, there's the product, maybe there's the product here first, and maybe the market is first or whatever. But at some point, if something becomes successful, meaning it gets traction, it grows, becomes sustainable, becomes profitable, because something that actually takes off, usually that meeting needs to happen, right? The product or the service and the market. I'm curious about, how do you think about that process? How do you go about that process, or that meeting, that intersection, that coming together? Do you have a framework for that, or how do you think about that?
That's the holy grail in startup life, right? It's like if somebody was able to determine this successfully advanced, you wouldn't need VCs. You need Excel sheets. But I think it's very interesting also to elaborate on that. Many people have a different, but also personally, I believe a very similar kind of view on this one. And many people tell you that you need to listen to all the people. I tell you it's bullshit, because you need to listen to the right people, and that is already by definition a problem. You don't know upfront who are the right people. So this is, people with experience in a certain field and many expertise can be totally right and actually totally wrong on what they're telling. At the end of the day, I think it is a vague path between, in the very beginning, truly assessing your idea and really, letting everybody, hit on you and kill you multiple times. But if you are true and honest to yourself, and you stand in front of the mirror, and you have, best case, one or two really great co-founders, and you're really, honest, that naked standing is like, okay, this is my opinion. This is not like, oh my God, it's going to be so amazing, and we're going to be billionaires. It's like, that's not the case. The case is, don't start any project or business by becoming a billionaire. That's what not Bill Gates did. This is what no rich person on planet Earth did. So challenge in the very beginning. Let yourself be challenged by everybody, by your mom, by your dad, who has no idea about the digital age, who have no idea about crypto. I don't care. Just like really everybody. Then when you really stand there, true to yourself and to your co-founders, and you still believe that this is a great idea, pick your path, pick your target for the next 5 years, and then try to find the right people to examine you and show you different perspectives in order to find for you and yourself and your co-founder team, find the right direction. And then I think it goes all, left and right. I know startups being very successful financially or philosophically with having 3 pivots within 5 years, but they still, make their living, they get their funding, they have a growing customer base. It's all cool. And I know other startups who are very successful. There's like, no, that's what we did like 5 years ago. We're still, boom, this is, I can show you the slides. That's what we presented 5 years ago. There's no fine tuning. It depends on the industry. It depends on the people. It depends on the market. It depends on the market size. It depends on if you're doing a disruptive business. It depends on if you're just, iterating something. Sometimes the most beautiful ideas and the biggest and fastest growing ideas are super simple ideas where everybody's like, oh, seriously? Fuck, I could have had that idea. Others are, working highly complex and on the tech stack, super disruptive, where you need to have 5 super crazy tech guys in order to, get where you think you're able to go, but nobody's been ever going there. Like, everybody says like, go to the moon. It's like building a rocket to Mars. So there was a rocket which was flying kind of to the moon, but then think about the same shit you're doing now by flying to Mars. It's impossible. Nobody can determine if you're doing it. But long story short, I think after getting really hammered by everybody, try to find your North Star, not only in the business side of the project you're starting, but especially character-wise, because your character is going to be challenged equally like your business idea.
Thanks for sharing. Yeah, I love what you said also, like in the beginning, find like the right people. you know, and you know, it's funny, like that's also true for the customers, right? You know, even if you do all the research and you think you know exactly who the right customers are, maybe they are, or maybe they're not. The only way to find out is to go there. You know, and I think it's interesting. It's also a fine balance often between doing the conceptual work in a sense, like, you know, the research and, you know, getting stuff on paper and figuring out what they want and all these things, and then basically doing it, you know, and actually figuring out that you're wrong, because most of the time you're probably going to figure out more often that you're wrong than that you're right, which is important.
Absolutely agree with you. I mean, take a staggered and a highly organized really staged approach. Like, think about it, write everything down, take Excel sheets. There's books, there's stuff out there. Don't think that you're the first crazy guy on planet Earth who can do everything in his brain. Write it down, challenge it while writing down, talk to others. You know, as you said, exactly, Daniel, totally agree with you on this side. And as well as on the second part, it's like, go out and you know, many small failings will help you grow drastically fast. And a failure is as such, because I think customers wanted green and then they wanted orange. It's not a failure. You might have, you know, failure is such a word, like that you're a loser. It's a failure is a temporary wrong decision, because, you know, when you grow the market, maybe they also like orange and green, but you correct it and then you adjust it and then you serve the market and everything is fine. So a failure is always a learning, and it should be more on a positive level, although it doesn't feel like something positive in that moment. But I agree with you. Go out, do it, start it. I mean, after you thought about it, really, and then do it and adjust it. And the faster you're adjusting it, the faster you're going to be successful and happy.
Or figure out that you need to burn the idea and, you know, move on, right? Either this or that. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, it's I think the learning curve of, I think it always sounds mean or strange, but it's super tough to get this learning. But success is not only what you see at the end of the, you know, investment round, or after 1, 2, or 3 years, the amount of customers you're having. If I look at myself, I'm not sure if I'm good at learning, but I think I learned a ton. And if I'm looking at my team, they're doing things in this, like in the other startup, the learning curve is dramatic. And if you have the right people with the right motivation, it's amazing. And I wouldn't say that there's lots of failure. There is, wow, that was this know-how which you're then gathering for yourself and for your team is truly unique and outstanding.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing your insights. Now I want to talk a little bit more about HOPR and the industry. So first of all, where do we stand today? So both HOPR and the industry, where are we today? And what's your vision for the future? What's your North Star that you are pursuing?
So the industry at the crypto space is some numbers. So CoinGecko, CoinMarketCap, lists around 12,000 crypto projects. If you look a little bit at what has a, let's say, half meaningful liquid market cap and listing, is like you end up with 1,000 projects. If you also go to crypto events, I would doubt that we ongoingly meet the same 1,000 projects, but more like maybe 500. If you look at the amount of crypto projects who are doing sustainable revenue, then you end up with 100 to 150 projects. So the market size of what the perception from the outside is, that you have from 12,000 projects, maybe be it 1,000 great ones, is that everybody is seeing the 11,000 I'm really sorry to say, bullshit projects who either, they're just there for the money, don't understand what they're doing. And I'm really sorry. It sounds arrogant, but this is what I see from what they're doing. Because launching a token without a function, without knowing what to do with it, doesn't make a lot of sense. It's like you don't start a bakery without bread and then you're saying, hey, but this is cool, everybody does it. It's like, yeah, but so the perception of the crypto space is, I think, highly negative. And I would be very happy if the entire industry would go a little bit more away from being so greedy, more into a really long-term sustainable kind of building projects and really useful applications, which do not only help, people dream of becoming rich. Adding meaningful and useful applications which, ease up our daily life. Because what's out of question is that the Ethereum ecosystem or the entire blockchain industry is a disruptive technology which could do many great things, like where we all started many years ago is, and this went totally wrong because the project was too young, and I'm not judging, but we started at the idea of true financial inclusion. Everybody on planet Earth is able to save money without any control of government or any bad private party, which is a truly, beautiful idea. And living in Switzerland, without government control sounds always like, without government control. But we're living, again, Daniel, just as you said, we're living in this bubble in Switzerland. Governmental control here in Switzerland means, close to nothing. There's nobody, really controlling you in a negative way. It's more bandwidths in order to, not hurt yourself and lose everything. But if you go to other countries, these countries don't care if the people living in these countries are able to spend money. We've been going with SONECT to Mexico, and they still have around 50% unbanked people of 120 million people in Mexico. We're talking not about, less developed countries. We're talking about Mexico. It's not the end of the world. It's not Antarctica. So nobody has money in order to give 50% of these people a bank account. These people are saving their money in their pockets or in their pillow. I'm not joking. And that was the very beginning of the crypto industry and the basic idea of, financial inclusion, everybody's being able to have money, all that stuff. And I would be very happy if that industry part would go a little bit more into this direction, into the beautiful first thoughts. And what we today see, what happens in DeFi is totally amazing, not only technology-wise, but also opportunity-wise. So this is my wish for the ecosystem going forward. But therefore, and I think there, the expectations are maybe a little bit high. First of all, we need to build infrastructure because we're at the very beginning. So we're talking about 4% of the world trading crypto in a bull market. So lots of stuff to come.
Yeah, thanks for sharing and bringing back that original vision. Because, I think, especially probably during bull markets and continuous bull markets, this is like, we thought about that one day, right? But now it's like, Shiba Inu, right?
Yeah. Or
100%.
any other coin with a dog or a cat or a parrot. Two parrots.
Exactly. Yeah, no, this is great. Now tell me a bit more about, we talked about North Star before. Looking at yourself with HOPR, what's your North Star?
I don't want to say happiness before, because this is at the end of the day my North Star. Because if I am true to myself and happy, then I've followed my rules, and this includes so many things, feedback and also judgment from all my employees, my family, my friends. But it's I started 7 years ago. I started a side project. I started a comedy company in Switzerland which produces stand-up comedy shows. Personally, I love stand-up comedy shows. Whoever attended a comedy show at night, when you had a really busy day and you're like, man, there are two things which help you is either do some sports or go to a stand-up comedy show. And laughing is relaxing. It's healing. So this happiness part for me goes very much in line with, laughing about yourself, being happy, and laughing in general. And this is, if at the end of the day I'm happy, I can laugh a little bit about myself. I can maybe also be a little bit proud about myself. But the happiness character for me, the smile, being, not everything went right and I didn't do everything correctly and I could have done better. That's all fine. Being aware of it is also very important. But sleeping or going to bed with a little smile on your face. So your at the end of the day, the day was, like 49% you could have improved and 51% was okay. You were going the right direction. I think then this is my North Star too. If I'm happy with myself at night, then I can sleep well.
And I love how integrated that living or that way of being is in the way you look at, what you do, the company that you lead, and all these things. And I guess it has a lot to do with the original purpose of blockchain at the end of the day, right? Of what we can create in
Absolutely.
this world. It's very deeply connected to purpose, and therefore, you get to lead a company alongside that purpose with this sense of happiness, because as long as you make progress, you serve the bigger picture, you serve a bigger vision.
Absolutely right, Daniel.
Yeah. Now, there's one more question I want to ask you, which I always love to ask, and it's wild and it's ways into the future, but I'm always curious about that. So let's now imagine you're 80 years old and you're sitting maybe on your terrace or your rocking chair, or I don't know, but you look back at your life and you look at everything that has happened and how the world has changed in those many, many, many years. In that moment, looking back, what is the change that you want to see in the world as a whole, in the world of blockchain, in whatever it may be?
Nobody is perfect. And I know exactly what I'm talking about. I know that very, very much from myself. And I think one of my biggest mistakes is that I'm very impatient. I'm very impatient with people, but I'm very, very impatient with myself. And I always like to get things, done quickly. But get things done. And sometimes I'm looking at myself, I'm like, see, there's not a big difference if it gets done now or in 5 minutes later. And especially if we're stressed and if there's lots of things on our plate and there's so many things on our mind and so many people asking us so many things, wanting, needing things from us. Sometimes the world would be much better if everybody would be, me including, a little bit kinder when interacting with others.
I love that. It's like, it just reminds me of a conversation I had this morning. Basically it's just around how people used to live and how we live now, and certain things of how we used to do things make no sense anymore today, but for some reason we still do them. Like, for example, this morning I talked with somebody about, that he said that in Italy after 11 o'clock, you don't have milk in your coffee. So basically you don't have, cappuccino or whatever. I didn't know that. And maybe he made it up, I don't know. But it sounded interesting. It's like, okay, why is that? And he said, well, it has to do with, actually, especially in the south of Italy, in the past, when there were no fridges, the milk basically went bad after 11. And, until then you could have fresh milk, and after that it wasn't fresh. I'm like, wow, that's so interesting. And I love these little bits of history, sometimes, because you know how it is. It's so easy to sit in the tram with, you know, your screen in front of your face and stuff. And,
Yeah.
you know, I think it's also these little moments, or just basically just having more, I don't know what to call that, but just more space for reality, you know, than just thinking about the next thing or the last thing or the other thing or this thing and that, I think that's also, you know, a part of what you shared, right? It's the kindness and the patience, and also, like, I guess the presence is at the essence of it. Because if we humans were a bit more present in our being, kindness will be more there, you know, patience will be better. And I'm talking from real experience, right? With my kids, being patient and things like that, you know, because if I'm not present mentally, and I mean physically, yes, but not mentally, then, you know, it's a stress, and don't bother me with this, and I need to do that now, and not this, and whatever. And if I'm present, well, guess what? I'm simply present, you know, and I'm just like there, right? And then things take a whole different dimension.
I think it's a very nice summary, and it circles exactly back to what you started. As you said, I think it's the right thing, is like to be a little bit more present in the moment, to be a little bit more aware of what we're doing, to give, you know, things a little bit more space, to not do things because we always did it, like the cappuccino, but to live a little bit more in the here and now and here, instead of to be always stressed and I need to do this, like you started. We have to. It's like, yeah, we should do many things, but we also should think a little bit more of what's really, really, really needed and what would be good for ourselves. Because if we are happy with ourselves and if we give us a little bit more space, then I guess the closest ones around us will equally feel that tiny little change, and maybe also feel a little bit better and a little bit more at ease.
Yes. You know, and just to close it off, it's like, you know, what you mentioned is like, we should do that, right? We should do that. Or, you know, the boss is coming and saying, can you please do that? Or feeling obligated to be in this meeting, and after 5 minutes noticing it's not for me, but I'm already here, right? Or I'm invited, you know, just to start early. I'm invited, so I'm going to join. Just talking about meetings, but it can be anything. Like, instead of basically just going to the meeting, just staying because you are there, just saying, sure, I'll handle it. Questioning maybe things a little bit more, you know.
Absolutely.
Instead of saying, sure, I'll deal with it, go like, I'm happy to deal with it. Can you just explain me one more time why this is so important right now?
And, you know, it's a perfectly sensible question, because maybe you misunderstood something and he was like, hey, I want to understand why I'm doing it, so please correct me. Or, oh, so if this is the case, this is not my core, so I can decide if I want to learn something or if I want to move on with other more pressing and urgent things.
Yes. Hey, Rik, thank you so much. It was really great having you here. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
And wonderful conversation. So we'll go offline again.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Daniel. It was great.
Everyone.